The dust kicked up behind Hannah's feet as she walked through the human settlement. Her arms ached from carrying the weight, but she refused to stop. On her back, her mother Una lay draped across her shoulders, breathing in shallow, painful gasps. The once magnificent albino dragon could barely lift her head anymore. Hannah had been walking for 3 days straight. Her own scales, a deep blue-green color, were covered in dirt and sweat. But she didn't care about herself. All that mattered was finding help for her mother. The white scales that had once shone like starlight were now dull and gray. Una's wings dragged on the ground, leaving twin trails in the dirt behind them. The human settlement looked small and rough. Metal buildings stood in crooked rows, and strange vehicles sat parked in front of them. Humans stopped what they were doing to stare at the young Drakari woman carrying the enormous dragon through their streets. Some pointed. Some whispered. A few children ran away in fear. Hannah ignored them all. Her mother had maybe 2 days left to live. Maybe less. She had to find this human mechanic everyone talked about. The one who could fix anything. The one who never gave up on broken things. 3 months ago, Una had started coughing. At first, it seemed like nothing serious. But then she couldn't fly anymore. Then she couldn't stand. The Drakari healers came from all over their home world. They used their best medicines and their ancient techniques. Nothing worked. Una just kept getting weaker. The elder healers finally told Hannah the truth. Your mother is dying. Her body is failing. There is nothing more we can do. Make her comfortable. Say your goodbyes. But Hannah refused to accept it. She was a warrior. Warriors don't give up. She had heard stories about humans. Strange stories. Impossible stories. Stories about how humans could fix things that others said were beyond repair. How they looked at problems differently. How they never accepted that something couldn't be done. Most Drakari thought humans were primitive, weak. Their technology was simple compared to Drakari ships and weapons. But Hannah didn't care about any of that. She only cared about one thing. If there was even the smallest chance that a human could help her mother, she would take it. So she stole a small transport ship. She loaded her unconscious mother into the cargo bay, and she flew to the nearest human settlement she could find, New Terra, a frontier planet on the edge of known space, a place where humans built their new lives far from their home world. Now, as she walked through the dusty streets, Hannah felt doubt creeping into her mind. What if she was wrong? What if she had wasted her mother's last days on a foolish hope? What if humans really were as useless as the other Drakari said? "Excuse me," Hannah said to a human woman standing outside a small building. Her voice was rough from days without water. "I'm looking for a mechanic. His name is Minho." The woman's eyes went wide as she stared at Una's limp form. The dragon. Is she? She's alive. Barely. Please. Where's Minho's shop? The woman pointed down the street with a shaking hand. 3 buildings down. On the left, the one with all the junk outside. Hannah nodded and kept walking. Her legs felt like they would collapse at any moment, but she forced them to keep moving. 3 buildings. Just 3 more buildings. She could make it. She had to make it. She saw it before she reached it. A small garage with its large door rolled open. Parts of machines were scattered everywhere. Old engines, broken hover panels, pieces of things Hannah didn't recognize. And in the middle of all this chaos, she saw him. A human man lay on his back under a transport vehicle. Only his legs stuck out. He wore old, stained work clothes and heavy boots. The sound of metal tools hitting metal echoed from under the vehicle. Hannah stopped at the entrance. Her shadow fell across the garage floor, blocking out the sun. The man stopped working. "Hey, you're blocking my light," he called out from under the vehicle. His voice sounded annoyed. "Move over, will you?" Hannah took a step forward. Her legs finally gave out. She fell to her knees, carefully lowering her mother to the ground beside her. Una's body made a soft thump against the concrete floor. The man rolled out from under the vehicle on a small wheel board. He sat up, ready to yell at whoever was in his shop. Then he saw them. His eyes went from Hannah's exhausted face to Una's enormous white body. His mouth fell open. "What the—" he whispered. Hannah looked at him. She had practiced his speech in her head for 3 days. She had planned exactly what to say. But now, With her mother dying beside her and this strange human staring at them both, all her words disappeared. Instead, tears started falling down her face. "Please," she said. Her voice broke. "Please help her. She's my mother. She's dying." The healers gave up. Everyone gave up. But I heard humans don't give up. I heard you fix broken things. Please, I'll give you anything. I'll pay any price. Just please don't let her die." The man stood up slowly. He was shorter than Hannah, with dark hair and grease stains on his face. His eyes were dark brown and tired. He looked at Una for a long moment, then back at Hannah. "I'm a mechanic," he said quietly. "I fix machines, engines, ships, not living things. I don't know anything about dragons. Please." It was all Hannah could say no more. Just that one word, over and over. "Please, please, please." The man ran his hand through his hair. He looked uncomfortable, maybe even scared. He walked closer to Una, staying a safe distance away. The dragon's chest rose and fell in shallow movements. Her eyes were closed. Her breath rattled in her throat like a broken engine. "I don't even know where to start," the man said. This is crazy. You're asking me to do something impossible." Hannah reached out and grabbed his hand. He flinched but didn't pull away. Her hand was much larger than his, and her grip was strong despite her exhaustion. "You're Minho?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Then you're the one I came to find. They say you fix things nobody else can fix. They say you see solutions nobody else sees. They say you care about broken things." Her voice got quieter. "She's broken. Can you at least look? Can you at least try?" Minho stared at their joined hands, then at Una, then at Hannah's desperate, tear-stained face. He let out a long breath. "I must be losing my mind," he muttered. Then louder, "Fine, I'll look, but I'm not promising anything. I don't even know if I can help. Probably can't. This is the craziest thing anyone's ever asked me to do." But even as he said the words, he was already walking toward Una, already pulling tools from his belt, already looking at the dying dragon with the same focused expression he used on broken machines. Hannah felt something she hadn't felt in months. A tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she had made the right choice. Maybe humans really were as special as the story said. Maybe this strange mechanic with his dirty clothes and tired eyes could do the impossible. Una's eyes opened slowly. They were pale, almost colorless. But they focused on Minho as he knelt beside her. The dragon made a soft sound, like a question, like she was asking if this human could really help her. Minho met her gaze and didn't look away. "Let's see what we're dealing with," he said. Minho walked around Una's massive body slowly. He had never been this close to a dragon before. Most humans hadn't. The Drakari kept to themselves, and their dragons were sacred to them. Yet here he was, standing next to a dying one in his messy garage. Hannah watched him from where she sat on the floor. She was too exhausted to stand anymore. Her eyes followed every move Minho made. Every time he touched her mother, she tensed up, ready to protect Una if needed. "Does she understand me?" Minho asked, looking at Una's face. "Can she hear what I'm saying?" "Yes," Hannah said. "She understands human language. She just can't speak it. Only I can translate what she says." Minho nodded. He knelt down next to Una's head and spoke directly to her. "I'm going to touch you, okay? I need to check some things. I'll try not to hurt you." Una's eyes moved to look at him. She made a low rumbling sound. Hannah translated. She says, "She trusts you." Something in Minho's chest tightened. Trust. This creature he had just met, this dying dragon, already trusted him. He hadn't earned that trust. He hadn't done anything yet. But there it was, given freely. It reminded him of someone he had lost a long time ago. He pushed the memory away and focused on the task. Minho pulled out a small scanner from his tool belt. It was meant for checking electrical systems in ships. He passed it over Una's chest area. The scanner beeped and showed readings on its small screen. "That's weird," Minho muttered. He moved the scanner to a different spot. More beeping. "Really weird." "What is it?" Hannah asked, her voice tight with worry. Give me a minute. Minho stood up and walked to his workbench. He grabbed a larger scanner, one he used for finding cracks in metal structures. He came back and ran it over Yuna's body again. This time, the scanner lit up in several spots near her chest. Minho stared at the screen. Then he looked at Yuna, then back at the screen. When did your mother start getting sick? He asked. 3 months ago. Why? And before that, was she ever injured? Any accidents? Anything that involved, I don't know, ship damage? Explosions? Hannah's eyes widened. How did you know? Yes, 5 years ago. There was a transport crash. My mother saved us. She protected me and my siblings from the explosion. She shielded us with her body. Minho nodded slowly. Things were starting to make sense. Did your healers check for foreign objects? Things that might have gotten stuck inside her. Of course they did. They found nothing. They said her organs were failing naturally, that she was just old. They were looking for the wrong thing. Minho held up his scanner. Look at this. See these bright spots? That's metal. Small pieces of metal embedded in her chest, near her heart area. Hannah scrambled to her feet and rushed over. She looked at the scanner screen, not quite understanding what she was seeing. Metal? But how? The healers would have found it. Not if they were only looking for organic problems. Not if they didn't think to check for this. Minho zoomed in on one of the bright spots. These fragments, they're not just any metal. Look at the signature. That reactor core material. From a ship's power system. The pieces fell into place in Hannah's mind. The transport ship that had crashed 5 years ago. The explosion. Her mother throwing herself over them, protecting them from the blast. The fragments must have embedded themselves in Yuna's body during that moment. But why is it killing her now? Hannah asked. It's been 5 years. Because it's been slowly poisoning her system. Reactor core material breaks down over time. It releases particles. In a machine, those particles cause corrosion. They make metal weak and brittle. In a living being. Minho looked at Yuna with new understanding. I'm guessing it does something similar. But your doctors wouldn't recognize it. They're looking for disease. For biological failure. This isn't biological. It's mechanical damage happening inside a living body. Hannah felt her legs go weak again. She sat down hard on the floor. So all this time we thought she was dying of old age. But she's been poisoned. By the same explosion she saved us from. Minho saw the guilt flash across Hannah's face. He recognized that look too. He had worn it himself for years. Hey, he said firmly, this isn't your fault. She made a choice. She saved you. That's what mothers do. The words came out harder than he meant them to. Hannah looked at him curiously. There was pain in his eyes. Old pain. The kind that never really goes away. Before she could ask, the sound of footsteps made them both turn. A young human woman appeared in the garage entrance. She had short hair and wore the same kind of work clothes as Minho. She was carrying 2 cups of something hot and steaming. Hey, boss, I brought you some. The woman stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes went huge as she saw Yuna. The cups fell from her hands, splashing hot liquid across the floor. What is that? Suji, calm down, Minho said. It's okay. She's not going to hurt you. That's a dragon. Suji's voice came out as a squeak. There's a dragon in our shop. A giant white dragon. She's sick, Minho explained. We're trying to help her. We? Suji looked at him like he had lost his mind. Boss, we fix hover bikes and transport engines. We don't fix dragons. I know, but we're going to try anyway. Minho turned back to his scanner. Come here. I need your help. Suji didn't move. She stood frozen in the doorway, staring at Yuna. Yuna, for her part, turned her head slowly to look at the frightened girl. The dragon made a soft, gentle sound, almost like a purr. Her pale eyes were kind. She won't hurt you, Hannah said quietly. My mother would never hurt anyone. She's the gentlest soul I've ever known. Something in Hannah's voice made Suji take a step forward. Then another. Slowly, she approached Yuna. The dragon watched her come closer, not moving except to breathe. Suji reached out one shaking hand and touched Yuna's scales. They were warm and smooth, like polished stone. "She's beautiful," Suji whispered. "Yes, she is," Hannah agreed. "And she's dying. But Minho thinks he can help." Suji looked at Minho. "Can you? Really?" Minho ran his hand through his hair. It was a gesture he did when he was thinking hard about something. "Maybe. The metal fragments need to come out. If they stay, they'll keep poisoning her." But what?" Hannah asked. "But it's dangerous. Really dangerous. These fragments are near her heart. If I make one wrong move, I could kill her. And I've never done surgery on a living being before. I work on machines. Dead things. Not—" He gestured at Yuna. "Not this." "You said the fragments are making her sick like they would corrode a machine," Hannah said. "So maybe you need to treat her like a machine. A very delicate, very important machine." Minho looked at her, then at Yuna, then at his hands, covered in grease and scars from years of work. Hands that fixed broken things. Hands that had failed to save what mattered most, once before. "It'll take days," he said slowly. "The procedure will be long, complicated, and I can't promise it'll work. But there's a chance." Hannah's voice was desperate. "A real chance. There's a chance." Hannah moved to her mother's side. She placed her hand on Yuna's head, gently stroking the white scales. She spoke to her mother in their own language, the words flowing like music. Yuna responded, her voice weak but clear. Tears ran down Hannah's face as she listened. When her mother finished speaking, Hannah looked up at Minho. She says she's ready. She says if she's going to die anyway, she'd rather die trying to live. And she says... Hannah's voice broke. She says you have kind eyes, like someone who understands broken things, like someone who wants to fix them not because he has to, but because he cares. Minho felt his throat tighten. He cleared it roughly and turned away. "Yeah, well, we'll see. Suji, start clearing space. We need room to work. Lots of room." As Suji rushed to move equipment, Minho walked to his workbench. He looked at all his tools. Tools meant for metal and wires, not flesh and blood. Could he really do this? Could he save this creature when he had failed to save his own daughter years ago? He picked up his smallest, most precise tool, the one he used for the most delicate repairs. His hand didn't shake. It never shook when he was working. That was the only time he felt steady anymore. Behind him, Yuna made a soft sound. Minho turned to look at her. The dragon's eyes met his, and he saw something in them. Not just trust, not just hope, but understanding. Like she knew about his pain, like she knew about his guilt, and like she was telling him that this time, maybe, it could be different. "All right," Minho said to the room. "Let's get to work." The next morning, Minho's garage looked completely different. All the scattered parts and tools had been pushed to the sides. The center of the space was clean and empty except for Yuna, who lay on thick padding that Suji had brought from somewhere. Bright lights hung from the ceiling, pointing down at the dragon's chest area. Hannah hadn't slept. She sat next to her mother all night, holding one of Yuna's claws in her hands. She sang old Drakari songs in a soft voice, songs her mother had sung to her when she was small, songs about stars and flying and coming home. Minho had spent the night preparing his tools. He cleaned each one carefully. He laid them out in order on a metal tray. Scalpels meant for cutting through ship hulls. Extractors meant for pulling damaged circuits from tight spaces. Clamps meant for holding broken parts steady. All of them sterilized. All of them ready. Suji arrived early with another person. A human man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes. He carried a large medical bag. "This is Doyan," Suji said. "He's the settlement doctor. I told him what we're doing. He wants to help." Doyan set his bag down and looked at Yuna with wonder. "I've never treated a dragon before. I'm not sure how much help I'll be." "You know more about living bodies than I do," Minho said. "I need you to monitor her vital signs. Tell me if her heart rate changes, if her breathing gets worse. Anything." Doyan nodded and started pulling equipment from his bag. He attached small monitors to different parts of Yuna's body. The screens lit up, showing her heartbeat and other readings. Everything was slower than human normal, but steady. Her heart rate is elevated, Doyon said. She's stressed. Scared, probably. Hannah spoke to her mother in their language. Una responded with a weak rumble. She says she's not scared. She's ready. More people started arriving. Not to help, but to watch. Word had spread through the settlement about the dragon in Minho's shop. Humans gathered outside, peering through the open garage door. They whispered to each other. Some looked excited. Some looked worried. An older woman pushed through the crowd carrying a large basket. She had kind eyes and flour on her apron. I brought food, she said. For everyone. This is going to take a while, right? Thank you, Hyojin, Minho said. But we need space. Can you keep everyone back? Hyojin nodded and started organizing the crowd. She set up the food outside and told people to give the garage room to breathe. Most listened. A few stayed close, too curious to leave. Minho looked at Hannah. You should wait outside, too. This is going to be difficult to watch. No. Hannah's voice was firm. I stay with my mother. I need to be here. To translate if she needs to tell you something. Minho understood. If it were his daughter on that table, he would have done the same. He would have stayed no matter what anyone said. Okay, but stay out of the way. And if I tell you to move, you move fast. Understood? Hannah nodded. Minho took a deep breath. He picked up his scanner one more time and passed it over Yuna's chest. The bright spot showed on the screen. 7 fragments total. 3 were small and shallow. Those would be easy. But 4 were deep. Very deep. One was so close to what he thought was a heart that his hand trembled just looking at it. All right, he said quietly. Let's begin. He made the first incision with a tool that used focused energy to cut through tough materials. It sliced through Yuna's scales like they were paper. The dragon's body tensed, and she made a sound of pain. Hannah squeezed her mother's claw tighter. Heart rate increasing. Doyon called out, but still stable. Minho worked slowly, carefully. His hands moved with the precision of someone who had spent decades fixing delicate things. He pulled back layers of tissue, using small clamps to hold them in place. And there, buried in the muscle, he saw the first fragment. A small piece of twisted metal, glowing faintly with residual energy. Got you, he whispered. He used a magnetic extractor, the same tool he used for pulling broken screws from tight engine spaces. The fragment came free with a soft click. He dropped it into a metal container. One down, Suji said. She was writing everything down, recording each step. Minho found the second and third fragments quickly. They came out easier than the first. But then he reached the fourth one. It was deeper, much deeper. His tools could barely reach it. I need to go deeper, he said. This is going to hurt her. Hannah translated for her mother. Yuna's response was immediate and clear. She says, do it. Don't stop. Minho cut deeper. Blood, darker than human blood, started to seep from the wound. Doyon moved quickly, using medical pads to soak it up. Yuna's breathing became labored. Her whole body shook, heart rate spiking. Doyon said, worry in his voice. She's in distress. I'm almost there, Minho said through gritted teeth. His fingers worked inside the wound, feeling for the fragment. There. He felt it. A sharp piece of metal lodged against something that pulsed rhythmically. Her heart. It was right next to her heart. Sweat dripped down Minho's face. Suji wiped it away with cloth without him having to ask. His hand went in deeper. If he pulled wrong, if he slipped even slightly, he could tear the heart tissue. Yuna would die instantly. Come on, he whispered to the fragment. To himself. To whatever gods might be listening. Come on. The fragment shifted. Moved a fraction. Minho held his breath and pulled steadily. Slowly. So slowly. The metal scraped against tissue, but didn't tear anything vital. It came free. Minho held it up, and everyone in the garage seemed to exhale at once. The fragment was larger than the others. Jagged. Pieces of it were corroded, eaten away by whatever reaction had been happening inside Yuna's body for 5 years. That's the worst one, Minho said. The others should be easier. But he was wrong. The 5th fragment came out without problems. But when Minho located the sixth one, he found a complication. The fragment had shifted over the years. It had moved from where the scanner showed it. He searched for 10 minutes, his hand inside Yuna's chest, feeling around blindly for a piece of metal he couldn't see. "I can't find it," he admitted. Frustration made his voice tight. "It should be here, but it's not." Yuna made a sound. Hannah leaned close to listen. She says, "Go left, down and left." Minho moved his hand down and to the left. His fingers touched something hard. There it was. How did she know? "She can feel it," Hannah said. "She's lived with this pain for 5 years. She knows where every piece is." Using Yuna's guidance, Minho found and removed the sixth fragment. But now there was a new problem. Yuna's breathing was getting worse. Much worse. Her chest barely moved. The monitors started beeping frantically. "She's struggling," Doyeon said. "Her oxygen levels are dropping. She's too weak. Her body can't take much more." "There's one more," Minho said. "Just one more fragment. The last one. If you keep going, she might die on this table," Doyeon warned. Minho looked at Hannah. Her face was wet with tears, but her eyes were determined. "What does your mother say?" Hannah asked. Yuna's response was barely a whisper. She says, "Finish it. All or nothing. She didn't come this far to quit now." Minho smiled despite everything. "She sounds like someone I used to know." He positioned his tools over the final fragment. This one was medium depth. Not as bad as the fourth, but not as easy as the first few. His hands were tired. His back ached from bending over for hours. But he pushed through. The final fragment was lodged in muscle tissue that had grown around it, trying to protect the body from the foreign object. Minho had to cut away the tissue carefully, freeing the metal piece by piece. Yuna's breathing became so shallow it almost stopped completely. The beeping from the monitors became a steady alarm. Doyeon looked at Minho with panic in his eyes. "Almost there," Minho said. "Just a few more seconds." He gripped the final fragment with his extractor. Pulled. It didn't move. He adjusted his angle and pulled again. This time it shifted. One more pull. The fragment came free, bringing tissue with it. Minho dropped it in the container with the others and immediately started closing the wound. "Suji, hand me the medical sealer. Now." Suji slapped the tool into his hand. Minho used it to seal the blood vessels and close the layers of tissue. His hands moved faster than they had all day. Finally, he sealed the scales closed. The wound disappeared, leaving only a faint line. "Done," he said. "It's done." For a moment, nothing happened. Yuna lay perfectly still. Too still. The monitors showed her heart rate dropping. 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 Hannah let out a sob. "No. No. Please." Doyeon checked the monitors again. He looked at Minho and shook his head slowly. Then Yuna's chest expanded. A deep breath. Then another. Her heart rate steadied. Started climbing back to normal levels. Her eyes, which had been closed, opened slowly. They were clearer than before. Brighter. She looked at Minho and made a sound. A long, musical sound that filled the garage. Outside, the watching humans went silent. The sound wasn't words, but everyone understood it anyway. It was gratitude, pure and simple. Minho sat down hard on the floor, his legs finally giving out. "We did it," he said in disbelief. "We actually did it." Suji threw her arms around him, laughing and crying at the same time. Doyeon slumped against the wall, exhausted. Hannah wrapped herself around her mother's neck, sobbing with relief. Outside, the crowd erupted in cheers. Hyojin wiped tears from her eyes and started handing out food to celebrate. Minho looked at his hands. They were covered in dragon blood and his own sweat. They were the hands that had finally saved someone. After all these years, after all his failures, he had finally done it. Yuna watched him with ancient, knowing eyes. And in that moment, Minho understood. This dragon knew about loss, about pain, about failing to protect the ones you love. She understood him in a way few others could. They were the same, he and this dragon. Both broken, both carrying guilt, both trying to fix what they couldn't fix before. But today, maybe they had both found a way to heal. 5 days had passed since the procedure. Yuna was getting stronger with each sunrise. Her white scales, which had been dull and lifeless, now gleamed in the light. She could lift her head without struggling. She could move her wings without them dragging on the ground. The change was like watching a dead plant come back to life after rain. Minho had moved his workbench to the corner of the garage to make more room. Yuna needed space to recover, and he refused to move her until she was completely healed. He slept on an old couch in his office. Hannah slept on the floor next to her mother. Suji brought the meals 3 times a day. The settlement had changed its attitude toward the dragon. At first, people were scared. Now they were curious. Protective, even. Children brought flowers and left them at the garage entrance. Hyojin brought soup every evening. Doyeon checked on Yuna twice a day, amazed at how fast she was healing. On the 6th morning, Minho woke up to find Yuna sitting upright. Not lying down, actually sitting. Her neck was extended, her head held high. She looked like a queen instead of a dying patient. "Good morning," he said, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Yuna made a melodic sound. It was different from the weak noises she had made before. This sound was full and rich. It made the tools on the walls vibrate slightly. Hannah translated from where she sat braiding her hair. She says, "Good morning to you too." And she says, "Thank you." Again. She said it about 100 times in the last 5 days. "She doesn't need to thank me," Minho said. He walked over with his scanner and checked Yuna's chest. The wound had healed remarkably well. "I'm just glad it worked." "Just glad?" Hannah smiled. "You saved her life. You did what our best healers couldn't do. You're a hero." Minho made a dismissive sound and turned away. "I'm not a hero. I'm just a mechanic who got lucky." But Hannah saw through the tough act. She had been watching Minho carefully over the past few days. She saw how gentle he was when he checked her mother's wound, how he stayed up late making sure Yuna was comfortable, how he talked to the dragon like she was a person, not just an animal. "Tell me about her," Hannah said suddenly. "The person you lost. The one who makes you sad when you think no one is watching." Minho's hand stopped moving. He stood very still for a long moment. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. You have the same look in your eyes that I had when my mother was dying. The look of someone who failed to save someone they loved. Who was she?" Minho put down his scanner. He sat on an overturned crate and stared at his hands. For a while, he didn't speak. Hannah waited patiently. Her mother made a soft, encouraging sound. "Her name was Yunji," Minho finally said. His voice was quiet. "My daughter. She was 7 years old when she got sick. Some kind of disease attacked her nervous system. The doctors tried everything. Every treatment. Every medicine. Nothing worked. I watched her get weaker every day. Just like I watched your mother getting weaker." "I'm sorry," Hannah said softly. "I was an engineer back then, working for a big company, making good money. I thought I could buy the best doctors, the best care. I thought money could fix anything." He laughed bitterly. "But it couldn't. She died in a hospital bed, and I couldn't do anything except hold her hand." "That's why you became a mechanic," Hannah understood. "You wanted to fix things, to have control over something." "Machines make sense," Minho said. "If they are broken, you can fix them. You can see the problem, find the solution. They don't just die for no reason." He looked up at Yuna. "When you came here, when I saw your mother dying, I should have said no. I should have sent you away. But I couldn't. Because maybe, just maybe, this time I could save someone. This time I could be useful." Yuna moved slowly, carefully. She stretched out one of her claws and placed it gently on Minho's shoulder. The touch was light, almost delicate despite her size. She made a long, mournful sound. She says she understands. Hannah translated, tears in her eyes. She says she lost someone too. My father. He died protecting our family from raiders 10 years ago. She couldn't save him. She's lived with that guilt every day since. She says grief makes us feel broken, but helping others helps us heal. Minho reached up and touched Yuna's claw. It was warm and smooth. "Your mother is very wise." "She's had a long time to learn," Hannah said. "She's almost 200 years old." 200. Minho's eyes widened. I had no idea dragons live that long. Most do, if they don't get ship fragments stuck in their chests. Hannah smiled sadly. I almost lost her. After losing my father, my siblings grown and scattered across the galaxy, she's all I have left. If you hadn't helped us, I would have been alone. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, they could hear the settlement waking up, people going to work, children playing, normal life continuing. Suji arrived with breakfast. She no longer jumped when she saw Yuna. In fact, she walked right up to the dragon and patted her side affectionately. Good morning, beautiful. You look stronger today. Yuna made a pleased sound. Over the past few days, she had become fond of Suji. The young woman talked to her constantly, telling her about her day, about the settlement gossip, about everything and nothing. Yuna seemed to enjoy the company. Suji, Minho said, can you teach Hannah some of our human languages? She only knows basic common tongue. Really? Suji's eyes lit up. I'd love to. And maybe Hannah can teach me some Drakari. I want to be able to talk to Yuna properly. I can do that, Hannah agreed. She was warming up to these humans. They were nothing like what she had been taught. She had been told humans were cold, selfish, only caring about themselves. But Minho had risked everything to save her mother. Suji had welcomed them without hesitation. Doyan checked on them daily without asking for payment. Hyojin fed them like they were family. Maybe the Drakari were wrong about humans. Maybe they had been wrong for a long time. That afternoon, while Minho worked on repairing a hoverbike, Yuna did something unexpected. She stood up, fully stood up on all four legs. Her wings spread out slowly, testing their strength. They didn't shake. They didn't tremble. They held steady. Hannah jumped up in excitement. Mother, you're standing. Everyone in the garage stopped what they were doing. Minho put down his tools. Suji dropped the pot she was carrying. They all stared as Yuna took one step forward. Then another. She was walking. Actually walking. Yuna walked to where Minho stood. She lowered her enormous head until it was level with his. Her pale eyes looked directly into his dark ones. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She pressed her forehead gently against his chest. It was a Drakari gesture, Hannah explained later. A gesture of deep respect and family bonding. She's claiming you as family, Hannah said, her voice thick with emotion. She's saying you're part of our clan now. It's the highest honor a dragon can give. Minho stood frozen. He slowly raised his hand and placed it on Yuna's head. Her scales were warm under his palm. I don't know what to say. Yuna pulled back and made a series of sounds. Hannah translated. She says you don't need to say anything. She says you gave her back her life. You gave her more time with me. You did it not for money or fame, but because you cared about a broken thing. She says you have the heart of a dragon. Strong, brave, loyal. You are family now, whether you accept it or not. Something in Minho's chest broke open. A wall he had built years ago after Yunji died. A wall that kept him separate from everyone. Kept him safe but alone. It crumbled. Tears ran down his face, and he didn't bother to hide them. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for letting me help. That evening, the settlement threw an impromptu celebration. Someone brought out music players. Hyojin provided food. People danced and laughed in the streets. Yuna sat in the middle of it all, watching with amusement as humans celebrated around her. Children, no longer afraid, came up to touch her scales. She let them, making gentle sounds that made them giggle. Hannah sat next to Minho on the garage steps, watching the party. We'll have to leave soon, she said. I need to report back to my people. Tell them what happened. I know, Minho said. He had been trying not to think about it. In less than a week, these two had become part of his life. The thought of the garage being empty again made him sad. But before we go, Hannah continued, my mother wants to do something. She wants to propose an idea to both our peoples. A partnership, Drakari and humans working together, learning from each other. She thinks you humans have something special. Something we Drakari have forgotten. What's that? Hope. The refusal to give up. The ability to see solutions where others see only problems. You saved my mother when everyone else said it was impossible. That's the human spirit. That's what makes you special. Hannah looked at him seriously. My people need to learn that again. Will you help us? Minho looked at Yuna, who was letting a small human child sit between her wings. He looked at Hannah, who had trusted him with her mother's life. He looked at his garage, which had been just a place to hide from the world. Now it felt like something more. It felt like home. Yes, he said simply. I'll help. 3 days later, the sky above the settlement darkened. A massive Drakari ship descended, blocking out the sun. It was 10 times larger than any human vessel, black and silver, with wings that looked like they belonged to a giant dragon. The ship landed in the open field outside town with a thunderous boom that shook buildings. Minho stood outside his garage with Hannah and Yuna. The dragon was now fully recovered. Her scales shone bright white in the shadowed light. Her wings were folded against her back, strong and ready to fly again. She looked magnificent. They are here, Hannah said nervously. She wore her warrior armor now, no longer the dusty, exhausted traveler who had arrived days ago. My commander, my people, they are not happy that I brought Mother to humans. The ship's door opened. A ramp extended to the ground. 3 Drakari warriors walked out, each one tall and imposing. They wore armor that gleamed like dragon scales. Their faces were stern, cold. The leader, a woman with dark green scales and sharp eyes, walked directly toward them. That's Jiwin, Hannah whispered. My commander. She's not easy to deal with. Jiwin stopped a few feet away. Her eyes swept over Minho with clear disdain. Then she looked at Yuna, and her expression softened slightly with relief. Elder Yuna, you're alive. We received Hannah's message. The elders were concerned. Yuna made a sound, a long, authoritative sound that made even Jiwin stand straighter. Hannah translated, though her voice shook slightly. My mother says she's more than alive. She's healed, completely healed, because of this human. Jiwin's eyes snapped back to Minho. A human mechanic succeeded where our finest healers failed? Impossible. It's not impossible, Minho said calmly. It happened. I removed 7 reactor fragments from her chest. They were poisoning her. Your healers were looking for biological problems. They missed the mechanical damage. You expect me to believe that a primitive human outsmarted our medical experts? Jiwin's voice was sharp, angry. I don't care what you believe, Minho said. He was tired of people calling humans primitive. The proof is standing right in front of you. Yuna is alive. She's healthy. That's all that matters. Jiwin's hand moved to the weapon at her side. Hannah stepped between them quickly. Commander, please. Minho saved my mother's life. He asked for nothing in return. He worked for days. He risked everything. Show him respect. Respect? For a human who got lucky. Yuna's roar shook the ground. It wasn't angry, but it was commanding. Everyone fell silent. The dragon moved forward, placing herself between Minho and Jiwin. She spoke in the Drakari language, her voice strong and clear. She spoke for a long time. Hannah translated, tears forming in her eyes as she listened. My mother says, she says she's not just any dragon. She's Elder Matriarch Yuna, retired council member, mother of 12, grandmother of 43. Her word carries weight among our people. And she says this, Minho possesses something many Drakari have forgotten. Humility, compassion, the willingness to help without asking what he gains from it. Yuna continued speaking. Her pale eyes never left Jiwin's face. She says the Drakari have become proud. Too proud. We think our technology, our strength, our long lives make us superior. But pride made our healers give up on her. Pride made them say she was beyond saving. This human didn't have pride. He had hope. He had determination. He saw a problem and refused to accept that it couldn't be fixed. The other Drakari warriors shifted uncomfortably. Jiwin's face went through several emotions. Anger, shame, understanding. My mother says, Hannah continued, her voice stronger now, that if we judge beings by their actions and not their species, humans have proven themselves worthy of respect. They welcomed us, fed us, helped us, asked for nothing. When did we Drakari last show such kindness to strangers? Jewin was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She removed her helmet and knelt on one knee. It was a gesture of deep respect. Elder Matriarch Una, your words shame me. You're right. I judge without understanding. I saw a human and assumed weakness. I was wrong. She stood and looked at Minho. This time her eyes held no disdain. Human, Minho, you saved one of our most honored elders. You showed courage and skill. I apologize for my rudeness. On behalf of the Drakari Warrior Corps, I thank you. Minho nodded. Apology accepted. And for what it's worth, I understand. Everyone judges what they don't know. What matters is being willing to change your mind. By now, the entire human settlement had gathered to watch. They stood at a distance, nervous about the imposing Drakari warriors and their massive ship. But when they saw Jewin bow to Minho, whispers of pride rippled through the crowd. Their mechanic, their friend, being honored by aliens. Una spoke again. This time, her voice was different. Excited, almost playful. Hannah smiled as she translated. My mother has a proposal. She wants to create a partnership between humans and Drakari, a place where both species can work together, learn from each other. She suggests starting here, making Minho's garage the first joint facility, a place where we combine human ingenuity with Drakari knowledge. Hey! Minho looked at his small, cluttered garage, but this place is tiny. It's a mess. It's not official or important. That's exactly why it's perfect, Hannah said. It's real, honest, no politics, no bureaucracy, just people helping people, or dragons helping humans. You know what I mean. Suji, who had been watching from the garage doorway, ran forward. I think it's a great idea. We could learn so much from each other. I want to learn how Drakari ships work. And maybe we could teach them about Earth engines and human repair techniques. Doyon stepped forward from the crowd. I would like to participate as well. Combining human and Drakari medicine could save countless lives. On both sides, more humans came forward. Hyagen offered to provide food for any Drakari who visited. Others offered their skills, their homes, their friendship. The initial fear had transformed into excitement, into possibility. Jewin watched all this with growing amazement. She turned to her fellow warriors. What do you think? One of them, a younger male, spoke up. I think the elder matriarch is wise. I think we have much to learn from these humans. Look at them. They're not afraid anymore. They're eager, welcoming. When was the last time anyone welcomed Drakari warriors with open arms? Jewin made a decision. Very well. Elder Matriarch Una, I will take your proposal to the council. I believe they will approve. And I will recommend that Hannah be assigned as our liaison. She understands both our people now. She's a perfect bridge between our worlds. Hannah's eyes went wide. Me? But I'm just a warrior. I don't know anything about diplomacy. You know what matters, Jewin said. You know loyalty, love, determination. Those qualities matter more than diplomatic training. She smiled, a rare expression on her stern face. Besides, your mother will be here to guide you. She's always been the wisest among us. Una made a sound that was clearly approval. She moved to Minho and did something that made everyone gasp. She lowered her head and used her claw to scratch something into the concrete floor of the garage entrance. When she finished, there was a symbol carved into the ground. Half of it looked like a dragon. The other half looked like a human hand. Together, they formed a circle. It's a unity symbol, Hannah explained, her voice thick with emotion. My mother just created a new symbol, one that's never existed before. It represents both our species working together. Equal, united, family. Minho stayed at the symbol, then at Una, then at all the people, human and Drakari, gathered around. Something impossible had happened in his small garage, something that would change everything. Not just for him, not just for this settlement, but potentially for both their species. I have one condition, Minho said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. If we're going to do this, if we're going to build this partnership, we do it right. No one species is better than the other. We learn from each other. We respect each other. And most importantly, we help anyone who needs it. Human, Drakari, or any other species that shows up. We don't turn away anyone who's broken and needs fixing. Yuna's musical sound of agreement filled the air. Jiwon nodded firmly. Agreed? Those are good terms. The celebration that followed lasted 2 days. Humans and Drakari shared food, stories, and laughter. Children played around Yuna's feet while she watched over them like a guardian. Suji learned her first words in Drakari language. Doyeon and a Drakari healer compared medical techniques late into the night. Music from both cultures mixed together in the streets. On the final evening, Minho sat on his garage roof watching the sunset. Hannah climbed up to join him. Below, Yuna dozed peacefully, surrounded by human children who had fallen asleep against her warm sides. "Thank you," Hannah said softly, "for everything, for saving my mother, for giving me hope, for showing me that the universe is bigger and better than I thought." "I should thank you," Minho replied. "You brought purpose back to my life. You reminded me why I started fixing things in the first place. Not to hide from pain, but to help others, to make things better. What will you do now, with your new partnership facility?" Minho smiled. "Same thing I've always done. Fix broken things. Only now I'll have help. And maybe, along the way, I'll keep fixing the broken parts of myself too." Hannah rested her head on his shoulder, a gesture of trust and affection. "My mother was right about you. You do have the heart of a dragon. Strong, brave, loyal, and kind. So very kind." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set over the settlement. Below, two species that had never truly connected before were now building friendships, building trust, building something new and wonderful. Yuna opened one eye and looked up at Minho on the roof. Their eyes met, and understanding passed between them. Two beings who had lost people they loved. Two beings who had carried guilt and pain. Two beings who had found each other at exactly the right moment. She had given him purpose. He had given her life. Together, they had created something neither could have imagined, a bridge between worlds. A family built not on blood, but on choice. And in the end, that was the most powerful kind of family there was. Months passed. Minho's garage expanded into a proper facility. A sign hung above the entrance, carved from metal by human hands and blessed by Drakari tradition. It read, "Minho and Yuna's Interspecies Repair and Healing Center. All species welcome. Nothing is too broken to fix." Suji taught 3 young Drakari about Earth engines. A Drakari engineer showed Doyeon advanced medical scanning techniques. Trade began between the settlement and Drakari worlds. Knowledge flowed freely in both directions. And every evening, when the work was done, Minho would sit with Yuna in the garage they had transformed together. Sometimes Hannah joined them. Sometimes Suji. Sometimes members of both species, now friends, gathered to share stories and dreams. Yuna would rest her wing over Minho, a gesture that had become their routine. A gesture that said, "You are mine, and I am yours. We are family." And Minho, the lonely mechanic who had thought his purpose died with his daughter, had found a new purpose, a new family, a new reason to believe that broken things could be healed. That hope was stronger than despair. That love knew no boundaries. That sometimes the most unlikely friendships change the entire galaxy.